Welcome everyone. Thank you so much for being here today for this webinar on 7 steps to successfully enter the world of clinical practice in the UK. My name is Andrea and you'll be able to learn a little bit more about me if you've not heard of me before. I will be walking through these 7 steps, and if you are here, then you are probably looking into working in the UK in clinical practice and coming to the UK from a different country. And I would really like to start this webinar by making sure that we all start with the first question that we should all have, which is, why do we want to do this? Why do we think that coming over to the UK is going to be better for us? So each one of us will have different reasons for this, and they will look something along the lines of, I don't have the opportunities I want in my own country, I don't have the conditions I want in my own country, I think I deserve more life quality than what I have or will be able to have in my own country, and doing what I love, I want to do more for the animals that I am able to do where I am. So it will look something along those lines, but deep down, we will all be doing this because we believe that a career in the UK will allow us to thrive and will allow us to live a better life in general. And that is a completely reasonable goal to have, and something that we should strive for, because really we're here to try to get ourselves better and live well in the meantime. So when we look into that, we have to make sure that we are going after this for the right reasons and not for the wrong reasons. And I think that's really important, because if we don't get this, then we can end up disappointed quite easily and not being up for the challenge because we're not really feeling the reason. So let's start by making sure that you are in the right place. So this webinar is for you if you are worried that you are not going to be able to find a job in the UK, if you are worried that you don't have the language skills required, you don't think you've got enough money to survive without a job in the UK, and of course you're worried you won't get a job, you think you don't have the right technical skills to work in the UK, you think the process of becoming eligible to work in the UK is complicated, you think that paying the RCVS fees is not really worth it until you have a job offer on the table, you're not confident with the whole thing of creating job applications, sending them, having to deal with interviews, and everything's in a different language, and then you probably have to visit and it's a different country, and oh my god, there's so many things going on. If you are feeling anything like this, then you are in the right place. This webinar will help you, so make sure you stay right until the very end. However, if any of that is familiar to you, that's actually not the real problem and what's really holding you back. The problem you're having is that you don't actually have a strategy to follow, and you will be able to get one through this webinar. But the reason you don't actually have a strategy is because you don't have clarity on what you need to do and how things work, and that means that you just don't know what to do, and it's very hard to find out. And the reason for that is this quote that I have put here, which when we understand what it means, it's actually quite deep. The quote says, "You don't know what you don't know," which looks very straightforward, right? But really what this means is that there are certain things that are outside of your awareness. So you are not even aware that they exist. So you are in a situation where you don't know that there's something going on with that area or that topic, because you don't know that the topic exists. And this is a little bit what happens when we start any journey that we're completely unfamiliar with, and you will be feeling some of this as you are trying to do this move, because there will be a couple of things that you just don't know they even exist. And it's a little bit like building a puzzle, and you think you've got all the pieces right, and you build your puzzle, and in the end it looks like a really nice completed puzzle, but the thing is you're actually missing pieces. You just don't know that the puzzle is more complex than that. So you don't even know where to look for those pieces. And that's something that I felt as well, not just during the process, because basically when we start to look into the process, it's like, oh my god, now I need to know this and know this, and you become very quickly aware that There's lots of things that I don't know. But at that point, you already know that those things exist, and you already know that you don't know them, so you can search for them. The problem is, especially also as you start to work, there are going to show up, there are things that are going to show up that it'll be the first time you ever hear about them. And sometimes, especially when you are already working, that doesn't look too good because it comes out as, you just not being aware of these basic things in the first place, which is different from being aware that they exist and not knowing about them. So that is the bottom line of this. And this is a big problem, because if we don't know that it doesn't exist, we can't learn about that. So that's what we try to overcome. And with these 7 steps, you will have a much better picture about what you need to do, and you probably will find out a couple of things that you didn't know that you didn't know. So if you stay throughout the entire duration of the webinar, you will go through these 7 steps. These are 7 action steps that you can take right now in order to successfully start working in clinical practice and creating a better life for you, which normally quite easily reflects on having a better life for other people around you. So it's a win-win situation for everyone. Now, if you don't know about me, my name is Andreia, and I am actually one of you. I am a foreigner in the UK. I come from Portugal. I moved to Scotland straight out of vet school. I had absolutely no clinical experience whatsoever. I hadn't done my training with small animal, and I had to go through the entire process of registering with the RCVS. I did get a job, and after that job I got an internship at a referral hospital as a second job, and after that I've had a couple of other placements too. So I've been where you are. I've done what you were wanting to do, and right now I am actually doing it with others and helping other vets doing the same. And I am working with a lot of vets that actually want to enter clinical practice in the UK, and helping make sure that they do this successfully and they enjoy a thriving career without a lot of the hiccups that I've had. And like I said in the very beginning, I do believe that we all deserve a better life, and we all deserve to fight for it. So you should go after your dreams, and you should make sure that you are doing it for the right reason. And this reason is a right reason. It's not the only right reason, but it's one of the right reasons to do it. So now that you know a little bit about the person who's going to go through the 7 steps, these are actually 7 steps that I have personally taken, and we will be covering each and every one of them with some depth. So let's start going through this ladder. So step number 1, get on the train. You might be thinking that you don't need to register with the RCVS until you actually get a job, because you don't need to work until you get a job. You're not going to be able to you don't need the RCVS membership until you've got an offer. But the thing is, until you register with the RCVS, it will be very, very hard for you to get a job offer, especially if you are not in the UK. So do not hesitate. Don't think it's not worth it. It is worth it. Register with the RCVS. It can look very, very daunting and very overwhelming, but they have made it a little bit easier to find the information on the website. You can also find the information on our own website at www.ukvetmove.com. It's a little bit more organized on the website, as in it's a bit easier for you to understand the overall steps, and then you can easily find out the very specific steps that you need. For most of us, this can look like a lot of things, a lot of paperwork, but once you actually have the paperwork, it's not that complicated. However, for other people that might be watching this, you might need to sit an examination, and that is not easy, and that is not something to be taken lightly. It is a very heavy investment. You do not want to fail. You want to make sure you have some help to prepare for the examination if you need to sit the examination. Now, here's the thing. Most of the countries from Europe do not need to sit the examination. But for those of you who don't know, we've got Brexit coming in. Brexit will kick in 2019, and we don't know exactly what's going to happen with Brexit. The RCVS is trying really, really hard to make sure that everything stays as easy as possible for vets. But there is the possibility that only the establishments that are accredited will be able to provide diplomas that give direct recognition with the RCVS. What does this mean? There is a European Association of establishments for veterinary education, and not all the universities in Europe that teach veterinary medicine actually are approved by that establishment. And for instance, in Portugal, we've got like 7 universities and only 2 or 3 of them are actually approved. There is the possibility that only those universities that are approved by this association have a direct recognition for the RCVS, and therefore any other degrees from any other university might need to be recognized via the examination. And that can put quite a big barrier and difficulty for us, which means that up until then, we might have this golden opportunity to do it. If we think we're going to be working in the UK at some point, we are probably better off doing this now and registering with the RCVS now before any changes kick in, because right now, none of this is defined, none of this is set in rule, none of this is actually decided yet. So the registration stays as it is, and it is possibly a very, very, very good opportunity for us to register in an easier way than after Brexit kicks in. But we don't know if that's what's going to happen. That's just a possibility. Okay, step number 2, get your chat together. You might be having doubts about your ability to speak English, and that's very, very, very common. And however, you are right to think about it, because communication is really, really, really fundamental. But sometimes we actually have the skills and we don't believe we've got those skills. And when it comes to communicating in English, we do have the language barrier initially. And there's always this question, is my English good enough? You know, I can understand them, but can I speak fluently enough? And really, to understand that, you have to be able to start, maintain, and finish an oral conversation with a native about a daily subject. So you speak to them about, you know, the weather or the color of their shoes or something like that. Ideally, you do have some knowledge of technical language, but this is not as important because it's something that you can learn a little bit easier as you actually work and study a little bit more. The most important thing is to actually be able to communicate verbally, because obviously, as you know, not all communication is oral. But when you are speaking with a client in a consult room and you don't know how to speak English, and that automatically puts a barrier and diminishes trust in you, and it diminishes your rapport. So you want to make sure that you are able and happy with your speaking and transmitting your ideas. Now, one of the ways that you can understand this a little bit better is to make sure that you actually find someone that understands English quite well, ideally better than you, ideally someone that also knows about veterinary medicine, so you can actually have a more technical conversation and see if you are happy with it or not. And ask that person to be honest with you and tell you if they think that you've got enough skills and you can speak English easily with them. So the next step, your skill set is your tool belt, so wear it. This is actually very much related to those of you who think that, you know, I don't have enough skills, I didn't do a lot of things, I didn't see a lot of things, I didn't practice a lot of things. They're very demanding in the UK. Now, the thing for you to understand is that you have your own skill set, and it will be different from each and every one of you. It will be slightly different. And your skill set, your particular skill set, will be right for the right job. And this is very important. If you look for the right jobs, the jobs that you can do, you are able to use your skill sets as your tools to do the job. Now, you might be thinking, but I don't have the skill set for any of the jobs that show up. Now, when it comes to the UK, you will be initially starting with first opinion medicine. And first opinion medicine, even in the UK, has a lot of similarities to what you practice in your own country, especially if you are coming from a European country. So the skills that you have gained during the practice of first opinion medicine, including what you have been doing when you were studying, those skills are likely transferable. You probably know how to do a history, and it's, you know, fairly easy to translate that. You probably know how to do clinical examination. You still have to know how to do clinical examination in the UK. And the other good thing with the UK is that a lot of technical procedures are not necessarily performed by vets. In other countries, we don't have the nurse as much as we have it in the UK. And nurses in the UK can do a lot of procedures that typically you would be doing in your own country, such as placing catheters or taking bloods and even doing the anesthesia. And that is very good, because even if you don't have that type of technical skills, if you are in a place that has someone else that does it, you've got someone else to learn from, and you've got a way to practice. So it's very, very helpful in those situations. At the same time, lots of people are worried that, you know, medicine is so advanced, and the thing is, the referral medicine, this type of very advanced gold standard medicine, even in the UK, is not practiced straight out of vet school. For you to have this type of practice, you actually have to do training in the UK, and this is normally in the form of an internship or a residency or something along those lines, or postgraduate training that allows you to get enough skills and knowledge to practice at a referral level. The one thing that you should try to add to your tool belt, really, is confidence and surgical skills. And surgical skills and routine surgical skills are part of the tool belt of the vets that graduate in the UK, and it's not usually part of our skill set when we graduate from other countries and we don't have as much exposure. But obviously, if you don't have that, you are competing with other people that do, and most roles do have both types of skills required, both surgical skills and medical skills. So if you can add this to your tool belt, you are expanding your tool belt, you've got more tools that you can work, and you've got more jobs that ask for the skills that you have on your own tool belt. So this is important to understand, because if you are then, if you have your own set of skills, which you do, and you are trying to apply to jobs in which those skills are not useful, or you need skills that you don't have access to, then you are going to be failing to get those jobs. Now, step number 4 is about giving them what they want, but also what they need. And this is for those of you who are wondering if you know how to make job applications, if it's just as nice and easy as going through Google and translating everything. Now, there are differences when it comes to building job applications for the UK market, and this is what this step is about. This is about understanding what are the differences so you can build your applications taking that into account, but also what they need. Giving them what they need is about understanding the skills that they value, and this is oftentimes different from what you think. So you might have strengths that you don't really see as strengths, and the other way around. You might have weaknesses that you don't necessarily understand that they are weaknesses. And to give you a very typical example, you might be thinking, you know, I don't have a lot of experience, I didn't have a very good first job, I was just myself on this clinic on my own, and I didn't really have help, and I only saw 2 or 3 cases. You can very easily turn this around into something of value to you, because you have gained something valuable in here, which is the fact that you are now actually able to see cases on your own, because not because you wanted to, but because that's where you were. You didn't really have a choice. So the ability to do sole charge, or showing that someone trusted you enough to do sole charge, is actually highly valued. So you might be thinking, you know, my first job was rubbish, but you got a skill that is highly valued, actually, and you did something that is not common for people in the UK to do. So when it comes then to portraying this, you will hopefully be lucky enough that you will get job interviews, but those interviews are actually going to be in a different language, and that will probably add extra pressure to it, because you now have to show that you actually can communicate in English, and at the same time you've got the pressure of doing a job interview, which might be something quite unexpected from what you might be thinking will happen. There are some differences, and really that can be really different from place to place anyway. Now, be aware that there are quite a lot of recruitment agencies in the UK which you can use, but don't forget about the pitfalls of using recruitment agencies, which is the fact that they charge practices, and therefore if a practice is using a recruitment agency and doing advertising on their own, they will always look at the candidates that come through their own advertising than the ones that come through the recruitment agencies, because basically the ones from the recruitment agencies are more expensive, and that's a fair bit more expensive. So some of the recruitment agencies do help you with your CV and preparing for job interviews and can negotiate salaries and etc. But don't forget that comes with some cons to it. It's not just benefits. Obviously, you can also learn this a little bit more by speaking to vets that are in the UK, so you understand what is asked for, or if you've got a mentor that knows what they're doing or knows what is expected of you and can help you do this as well. So you, again, learn what it's like and what is valued and how to do this. Okay, step number 5. Your inner critic won't get you a job. Do you have that voice in your mind and you can hear this voice in your head telling you, what are you doing? You don't have the right skills. What are you doing? You don't have the practice. I know you really want to do it, but really you're going to fail. You don't have what it takes. This little voice is never, ever, ever going to help you get a job. And if you follow this voice, you're never going to do it. When it comes to finding jobs in the UK, which is one of that things that little voice is telling you, it's like, there are no jobs, everyone else is going to take that job instead of you, you don't have the skills for that job, or the other job, you just don't have it, so don't try. It's actually easier to find jobs than you might be thinking. There's a relative demand for vets in the UK. There's a relative lack of full-time vets that have experience, but also vets without experience. In some areas of the country, you don't find, practices struggle to find vets. However, the trick here is that finding a job is fairly easy. Finding a good job and the right job for you, it's not that easy. And it can be really, really, really bad when you get the wrong job. Okay. Now, like I was saying, there's a fairly high demand for vets in the UK, and you've got a lot of pressure from recruitment companies to employ these vets. And like I was saying, there are pros and cons of using recruitment agencies. One of the cons is that you are less likely to actually get the job if the practice is advertising on their own, if they're not using just the recruitment agency. But at the same time, these recruitment companies will try to find you a job. And if they've got something that isn't quite what you want, they might still try to get you to take that job, and then you end up in the wrong job, and that can be quite costly for your career, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Finally, you can actually look at what's in the market by just looking at plain online platforms for job search and applications. Several of them allow you to actually send in your application just by looking at the ads and replying to those ads. And it's useful. If you go to these platforms, you see there are like 200 jobs available. I mean, surely some of them are going to match what you can do and what you want to do, right? Now, like I had said, it's not that hard to find a job, but finding the right job is hard, and it's something you should really, really, really strive to do, because getting the right job as the first job in the UK is the best thing you can do for your career. Getting the first job right will allow you to be exposed to a huge amount of caseload, will allow you to sediment your skills, be confident in your skills, and really, if you got the right job, you are able to go wherever you want with your career. If you've got the wrong job, you will start to feel demotivated, you will start to feel lost, you will start to feel like it's not worth it, and you will very quickly start thinking about packing up and going back home. So really strive to find the right job, and make sure that when you've got it, use all your skills and develop them by making sure that what you are doing is going to be able to help you evolve, and is also going to help with the job itself and the practice itself. And that is the trick, is that you are looking for a job that will provide you with what you want, and that you can provide the clinic with what you want. Okay, now let's look at step number 6. And I think step number 6 and step number 7 are probably two very, very well hidden pearls when it comes to this. And they're probably going to touch this thing of this type of knowledge of you didn't know that you didn't know. So step number 6 is about taking a leap of faith. Now, this is extremely scary, but it can be life-changing for you. Taking a leap of faith is about moving to the UK without any proof or evidence on your table that you are getting a job. It's about moving to the UK without having job offers, without having anything set in stone. And obviously that is extremely scary, because you are pretty much packing up your things and moving to a different country, and you've got nowhere to fall onto. So it's a little bit like sky jumping and it can be extremely scary, but from the moment that you jump, there's no way back. When you do this, and when you trust that you will be able to find a job, because even though you probably don't have evidence in your own mind and your voice is telling you it's not going to happen, as you've seen, it's probably not that hard. When you do this, your chances of finding the right job increase. And the main thing about doing this is that you are actually already here. You've already taken the hardest step. So people actually trust that you will show. They are much more likely to speak to you on the phone. They are much more likely to invite you to visit, and much more likely to help you visit and ask you to go and ask you to get to job interviews. And obviously the more job interviews you have, the more the chances of getting a job, and the more the chances of getting the job that you want. So it's obviously extremely scary and very, very challenging, and you can't do it, you can't jump out of the cliff without a parachute, okay? So don't do that. You want to make sure that you've got support to do this. You want to make sure you've got someone that's put the parachute on your back and make sure that the parachute is working, because you don't want any nasty surprises. And you also need to have some sort of financial support. Either you've got some sort of savings, or someone that can help you with the aspects of surviving without a job while you are looking, someone that can help you with costs of living, a friend that you can stay over with, something along those lines that means that you've got some financial support to help you while you are looking for a job. But really, honestly, I think that if I hadn't done this myself, if I hadn't been here when I was looking for my very first job, I wouldn't have been able to get a job interview after after 3 applications, and having received one reply, and that reply was, would you like to come over for a job interview? So I think that makes an extreme difference to you, and you have to be willing to consider, if all else fails, if you are looking from abroad and no one is giving you offers, or you're having these offers and you're visiting and they tell you no, and you've just wasted time visiting and spent the money to do it, and then you still have no offer. If that is your case, consider finding support, consider finding some financial help, and just come over to the UK and search when you are in the UK. Because really, if you are here, there are jobs, and especially if you're willing to move from one place to the other. Final step. I think this is one of those things no one ever thinks about, and you don't see it. Bring the knowledge into your network. And this is what you will notice when you start to speak to people that have done it, and you have 2 people that have done it. You have those ones that everything seemed to have gone very well and no mistakes, nothing like that happened. It was all smooth, all easy. And you've got those ones that made it after stumbling and falling and spending time and money on things that they didn't need to do it, and they made these mistakes, and eventually after struggle they did it. And what you'll probably find, if you dig a little bit deeper, is that the first ones, the people that did it without much of a stumble and much of a problem, had someone else to help them. They knew someone that either helped them with the technical aspects of the job search and becoming eligible to work, or they knew someone that had done it and they asked them. They knew someone that had gone through the same and asked them what did they do, how did they fix the problems, what did they do on that situation, what happened after that, or something sometimes even as simple as having someone else that can support with where to move to because they live there, or they know the places, or they visited. So you will often find when you dig deeper that these people that didn't have stumbles and they didn't fall, they didn't have a lot of setbacks, they oftentimes had someone to actually guide them through everything. And that's why they didn't have those setbacks, because they were prepared for them. So whenever they happened, they weren't really a setback because they knew what to do. While if you don't have someone to help you, you just don't know what to do. You lose time trying to find out, googling, or trying to find someone that can help you, or you have to spend more money to fix a mistake that you didn't know that you had made because no one had told you were not meant to do it. So this, I think, is one of those things that is hidden away from sight, and no one really considers it when they speak to people that have done it. And they ask, how did you do it? And they're like, well, I just did what I had to do. And that's fine, but they had someone that explained them what they needed to do in advance, so they actually knew. So really, this is about not facing the challenges on your own. Find someone to help you, and you ideally want someone that can help you with everything that you need to do, and has gone through what you want to go through, and ideally someone that has some ability to support you through the hard times as well, because there will be hard times one way or another. That's not having them is just not something that happens. So having some sort of support for that can also make a big difference. Okay, let's have a quick recap of these steps again. We've got through 7 specific steps. The first step about getting on the train was about registering with RCVS. Step number 2, getting your chat together, is about learning how to communicate effectively in English. Step number 3, your skill set is your tool belt, so wear it. So make sure you understand your technical and soft skills and find a suitable job for your skills. Step 4, give them what you want. Give them what they want and also what they need. Learn how to create effective job applications for the UK market. Step number 5, your inner critic won't get you a job. There are many jobs available, so make sure you get the right job. Don't fall for the trap of getting just any job. Step number 6, take a leap of faith and don't be afraid of moving without a job offer on the table. It can be life-changing. Step number 7, the hidden pearl, I believe. Bring the knowledge into your network. Get a mentor to guide you through the process while you settle in, and make sure you've got support while you do it so you're not lost. So now that you've got these steps, you have to do something about them. And if you are still wanting to move to the UK and do this, and you've made a decision about that, now you've got the chance to take action on it. And like Tony Robbins says, a real decision is measured by the fact that you've taken a new action. If there is no action, you haven't truly decided. So that means now that you've got 7 steps and there are 7 action steps, you've got this option in front of you to take those steps and take action and make sure that you are actually deciding that you want to do this. So if you want some help for this, I've set aside some extra time over the next week or so. I can put you on a strategy call with me. It's a call where we speak for about 45 minutes or so. We discuss your own situation. We have a look at the steps. We have a look at your specific case and see what steps are missing, what steps you've not done, what steps you need to do. You get a strategy planned, and we can discuss the mentoring aspect, which is the very last step. And we discuss basically your specific situation, and if you want a mentoring, if we are a good fit to work together on the mentoring aspect of everything. And this is a free call. There are no costs to it, but it's not a call for everyone. So this call is for you if you are a graduate veterinary surgeon or you're about to graduate within the next 2 months and you are in a European country, and that's because, like I said, I'm more familiar with this situation and not the other situation for the examinations. You have decided that you want to work in the UK in clinical practice, whether it's private or referral, but it's clinical practice. You're happy that you know enough English to communicate efficiently on a daily basis. You don't need extra training in English. You are hardworking, you're willing to learn, and you're 100% committed to your future career. You're willing to do what it takes to fulfill your dream. If this sounds like you, then I invite you to arrange a free call with me, and you can follow the link below, which is www.ukvetmove.com/book-call, and I'll try to make this link clickable for you so it's easy for you to access this page. And you might be wondering why is this happening? Why am I offering you a call for free to discuss this in your own situation? And this is because, like, I hope you've understand from this, I believe that we all deserve to be happy. We all deserve to strive for a better life. And it is really rewarding for me when I see that I can help other people do what I've done without going through all the mistakes that I did, because I didn't have anyone to guide me through this. And really, I really want to provide other people with the guidance and support that I wish I had when I went through everything, because I didn't have this. I didn't have anyone to speak to or ask. And if we get on the phone and we like each other, we were a nice fit, then in that case you may want to partner up with me, and I can help you move your life to the UK and achieve a successful, well-paid career while maintaining a balanced lifestyle, because I think that's all very fundamental, and it's not as easy as it sounds. But one way or another, whether you want to discuss this or not, it's going to be a no pressure conversation that you get a ton of clarity and value from for nothing more than your time. So I recommend that you just go ahead, book your session right now. The link, like I'd said, is www.ukvetmove.com/book-call. And I'll try to make this clickable or show a button for you to click. All you need to do is go down to the calendar. You choose to book your strategy call and you select the time zone. You then choose one of the days that suits you and then a time slot that's available that suits you. Select continue, and you will have a questionnaire to fill in, some questions that will help me understand your situation before the call, so I don't need to spend more time going through them during the call. We've got more time to discuss other things that are important. And then you get an email confirmation, and with that you can have a look at your questions again. So this is really, really something that will provide tons of value for no cost, nothing apart from your time, and I will be able to help you. We can devise a strategy for you, and you can get a ton of value from it. So please go around, have a look at the page, book your call, and I will hopefully speak to you very soon. I have to thank you for being here, for spending time on this webinar, and I really, really hope that you find the information valuable and really think about those things that I said that you didn't know that you didn't know, and I will speak to you soon.